what I'm thinking of working on next is this. Believe it or not, that is yellow birch. It's a very young piece of yellow birch. Hadn't developed the full yellow birch color to it yet. Minor drawback is that big curve right there. I'm gonna try to heat it with my hot air gun and bend it back, because this one, you got looking at the roots, and those roots make a really comfy handle right there. And that little spot where it rises up fits perfectly into the center of my palm. So I think that's going to make a really nice handle. Kind of wish I'd cut it a little longer there, because those two are actually connected. It would have been cool to have a nice little loop on the front of it. So I think that's what I'm going to do next. Well, that didn't work. And loosened up the back and it just broke all off, and then got a massive crack in it right there. So, plan B. I'm going to cut that thing off and mount it on another shank. I think that's a pretty cool root, and I think it'll look sweet on another shank. So, I'll see what I got for shanks and I'll come back. Well, I think I found just the ticket. That's a piece of yellow birch. There's a branch off that same tree I did last week's project on. It had broken off when the tree landed, and it's got this bit of a dog leg right there, which I think if I cut that just perfectly, I can make that into a nice almost 90-degree handle, which will make it perfectly comfortable. So I think that's the plan. We'll do some cutting and see what it looks like. Okay, I got that shank cut off at that dog leg, and I'm going to make a peg. Just carved down to make a peg right there, and then the root, I'm going to drill a hole in there, and that'll slip right onto that peg and make a cane. I gotta fix the angle. Got the angle a little off. I gotta make it more about like that. See, I want the handle to be as close to 90 degrees to the shank as I can, because that's the most comfortable position to handle a cane. So I'm gonna keep paring away at it, and we'll see how she goes. Oh, and the remainder of the shank is still perfectly good, so I cut it off below the crack, and I can find a handle for that one at some point. So that'll make a decent shank itself. So, okay, I got that cut where the tenon is going to be. Actually came pretty close to meeting up with it this time. Usually I'm way off, but that being an angle, I figured it was going to be even worse, but managed to hit it. So now I'm just going to take the rasp and go down till I get a tenon on it. So I've got the hole drilled in it, in the handle. Got that drilled out with the old bit and brace, which always works pretty good. I find it works better with the hand tools usually on that, because sometimes the power tools, they get a little too much torque, and you catch on something and splits the the handle, like this one. It was a crook I was working on. This was part of a tree, and that was a root that was coming off of it, and split right there. Nice big split on it. So I've seeped some glue into it. I don't know if it'll hold or not, but that'll be a future project maybe. And I've been working on the peg. You can see I basically just kind of sight across it and see how that's kind of humped up right there. I'll just take that and keep going across until it's even, and eventually it'll fit into the hole on the handle, hopefully. That's the plan anyways. And well, as this stick shows, sometimes you need a plan B, but that's kind of the way things go at times. Okay, and once you get it on there a little bit, and give it a twist, gently of course, and that'll leave a high spot, or a rub mark right there, so that you need to take it down a little bit more right there. Just file that down a little more, put it back on, give it a twist, and it'll basically fit eventually. You can just keep checking your size on it, and eventually you'll get there. Well, she's fitting pretty good right up to there. Unfortunately, that's not the angle I'm going for. Where I want it to be is roughly there. So I'll take a pencil or something and scribe this angle onto there. This angle here onto the handle, and then just sand down to it on the belt sander probably. But that'll look pretty sharp, I think. Obviously, going to take the bark off the handle, just because it's kind of rough and it's a little chipped up in places, and I kind of like a bare handle usually, if possible. Well, sometimes depends really. Sometimes the bark isn't particularly rough or looks really good, and I'll leave it. But this is not the greatest. But so it'll be back here right up to the joint, and then I'll peel off that. Might put a spacer in there. I haven't quite decided. I don't think I have a piece of buffalo horn that's big enough. But I think I might have a chunk of walnut or piece of cherry burl or something, just to kind of set off the difference between the handle and the shank. But yeah, she's coming pretty good. Well, I got her sanded off, and that's about the orientation I'm looking for. That'll make a nice comfy cane. And yeah, I think I'm definitely going to go with a spacer there. Just haven't decided quite what. But yeah, that's going to look sweet. Plus the other advantage of a spacer, if the handle and the shank aren't the same size exactly, I mean, I'm going to take the handle down a little bit, but it might not blend smoothly from one size to another. The spacer will allow me a little bit of wiggle room on it. But oops, yeah, that's looking pretty good. And I'm wondering what I ought to do with this fruit. I had this crazy idea. I might see that. Just kind of sits there, and it's a little tight across my pinky. I don't want to cut it off though, so I might see if try my hand at bending again. I might soak that a little first in some water, bend it, and then tenon it into the main handle. I think that would be cool. So I might give that a try. So who knows? I think that's about enough for today. So I'll back at it tomorrow. Well, I've got the handle, that one root, soaking in some water. See if that'll soften it up a little bit, make it easier to bend. And while that's cooking, I took the Dremel and brought the shoulders of the tenon down some, so it'll be a little snugger fit. And I've cut a piece of wood for the spacer. Thought it was walnut, but I don't think so. It's very red in color. I don't know if that's cocobolo or what it is. It's out of a stash of wood I got when the girlfriend's father died quite a few years ago. No idea what it really is. I thought it was walnut because of the sapwood on it. It was lightish and then dark wood, but when I cut into it, it's quite red. So I'm not sure, but anyways, it'll look pretty good. So we're just gonna drill a hole in that, put it down on there for fit. Well, whatever that wood is, it's a little too brittle. It's the second one I've split, trying to get it on there. Gonna have to figure out a plan B again, I guess. Actually, I did have an idea that I might try. Just thinking, if I taped that area off with some painter's tape in good shape, then mixed up some 2-part epoxy with some sort of coloring in it, that might be kind of cool. Maybe I'll try that. Oh, and I've started peeling off some of the back while I had it on there, squeezed up. So maybe I'll try that, see how it works. Never done it before. So I mixed up some 2-part epoxy and stuck her on there. It's gonna probably be tomorrow before it be ready to do any more work on. So on the handle anyways, I might spend a little time smoothing some of these knot holes down. But I think that's it for now. I'll be back. Yeah, I was working on the back a little bit, knocked a little off more than I wanted to, so since I had the epoxy all mixed, I took a chunk off this offcut. This is the part that was cut off from there. So it's off the same stick. Should make a pretty good match. Took off a little bit of that back and glued it on there. It's a little sanding belt wrapped around it to give even pressure around. So I've taken the top of a plastic bottle. I hadn't already had a hole in it, luckily, where the screw threads were, and just shoved it up the length of the thing. Heated it up with the hot air gun and got it into position. I think that's going to be fine. It's a little, because the shoulder of the tenon is at an angle. It's not quite perfect, but I think it'll work. So I'm gonna, when I heated it, and it made it quite pliable, so I think it sealed itself pretty well. So I'm just gonna make up some resin and pour it in there, and any extra I can just remove. Been taking some of the bark off bit by bit. It's coming. So that's the next part of it. Well, I think it's like 80 milliliters of resin mixed, and I put some gold glitter in it. That was in it. I was gonna put some liquid dye in it, but I think it's gonna be fine. I kind of wanted it opaque so that the remaining bit of tenon that's showing wouldn't show through it. So hopefully that'll do it. Now this is gonna, unfortunately it's cold out. Fall weather has set in. Oops. And it's kind of cool out here. It's only like 60 degrees today. And so it's gonna take a while for it to cure, I think. Looks like I got a little too much. Just wasn't really sure how much it was going to take, but any extra I can just carve off, obviously, and that I'll just let it set, and maybe it'll form a nice little bit of resin to use on a future project. I can get it level so it's sitting even. The shop is not only messy, but it's not level. It was on some cement pads, but it came off them during the thaw last spring, so I gotta jack it up and put it back on its pads at some point. And we got a little bit of leakage right there. Crap. Well, maybe if I heat it up with the hot air gun, it'll slow it down. So, well, we'll see. Well, I put some hot melt glue on it, and that seems to have slowed it down considerably. Probably should have done that beforehand. But I've never really done much with resin before, so I'm not, I mean, I've seen it done, and I thought about it, and said, well, it looked pretty tight to me, but... So anyways, it's going to be a while before it's ready to do anything else with, so I guess that's it for now. I'll be back. Well, that came off a lot easier than I thought it was going to. I figured I'd be sawing on that sucker for a week to get it come off, but it popped right off. And that has solidified really nicely. The glittery stuff has stayed suspended. Originally I'd thought about running a bead of tape around it and then putting a hole through the tape and just filling it that way. But I was kind of worried that glitter would all settle to one side. So that's why I switched my plan B again. And except for a couple of runs, which actually seemed to peel off quite easily, that worked pretty well. Actually, you can probably hear in my voice that I'm kind of surprised. But now I just gotta file that down so it forms a nice smooth line, transition line from one to the other. I'll probably do some of that on the belt sander, and finish taking off the bark and on the handle, and we'll see what she looks like. I think I might leave that as is. I was going to try to bend that small one in there, but I think it's going to break if I try it. I might take a little meat off right here just so it doesn't, see it, my hand fits in quite nicely, but it does rub a little bit right there, and I don't want to cut it off completely, the root that is, not my hand. So yeah, I think I might just take a little off there and see how that works. But yeah, it's coming along. Well, I've Been paring that down a little bit, and it's coming off pretty good. And gotta go in, clean that up there. Yeah, it's I did some of this on the belt sander. That's hardened up nice and tight, so handle seems to be really solid. So it's coming along pretty nice. Again, I gotta finish taking that back off. But yeah, it's coming along pretty good for the Plan B cane. Well, so far so good. That's fucking pretty sweet. Like, seems like it's got a nice definite line for the joint. So yeah, that's coming pretty nice. Just gotta get those dribbles off of there, and then a little more here and there, and polish it up so that the glitter shines like it does in that bit right there. So yeah, so far, well, liking it. Well, I've been working on this one a bit. Hopefully that isn't bleaching out too much in the sun. It's kind of an odd time of day, and the sun comes in that direction. The joint is looking really nice. It's polishing up pretty good. I got all the dribbles carved off. I've been taking the bark off some more bit by bit. But yeah, she's coming along nice. Although I did realize I had actually glued the handle on 180 degrees off of what I wanted to do. I was really planning on having the handle curve that way, and I glued it on there. Well, she's had her first coat of polyurethane, and that looks pretty nice. That poured spacer looks fantastic, sparkling in the sun. Like I say, I got most of the bark off that I could, but because the shank is that nice yellow birch. Yeah, I'm really happy with that one. Hopefully you can hear me. It's kind of windy out here today. But yeah, I'm happy with that. So anyways, if you liked the video, go ahead and give her a thumbs up. If you didn't, give her a thumbs down. But leave a comment either way.